it's great to get a little bit of Melbourne wisdom from Susie O'Brien, who writes for the Herald Sun in Melbourne, and also the word from the Canberra bubble from Stephen Senatiempo, breakfast radio host on 2CC in the ACT. Thanks both for joining us. I can't believe here we are again. It's, that great American football coach says it's deja vu all over again, Susie, the same old border protection debate. Everybody's trotting out the same old lines.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, the new head of Border Protection or Operation Sovereign Borders is saying nothing to see here. We've still got the same budgets. We're doing just the same. Nothing, no problem. But, there's a 12% drop in foot patrols. We know there's been 30 separate incidents in the last couple of years. I mean, this is really concerning. Less pilots, less patrols, less maintenance. And the upshot is that we've got guys from Bangladesh and Pakistan walking through crocodile-infested waters in a bid to get here. How did they actually get in? We still don't know.
Yeah, there's an element of the comical Ali here, isn't there? Because they're saying there's nothing to see here, all's fine. And yet for the first time in a decade, we've had 2 lots of asylum seekers turn up on the mainland. And Stephen, before I go to you, I want to show what I showed at the top of the program. This is straight from Operation Sovereign Borders website. This is their video. They're not living up to their own message. Have a look. There's the undeniable failure there, Stephen, straight up. They're not watching every boat. They're only watching some of them.
Well, maybe they are watching and they watch them all the way to the shore. But look, the reality is that it's important. The perception is important. Clearly, the people smugglers prey on the messages that the Australian government sends out. And if there's a perception that the Australian government is weak on border protection, then the boats will start again. And that's where we find ourselves now. The reality is that we all know that whilst they're talking a big game, in their very DNA, Anthony Albanese and this government are not as hard on borders as they should be. And the reality is that lives will be cost.
Come on, Stephen. We all know Albo's been hard on borders because this is what he said on Friday.
I've been travelling in the car, so I'm not. I haven't been advised about that.
So the people smugglers just need to wait for Albo to get in the car and then hightail it to Australia.
Yeah, let's remember he also said he was going to bring our energy costs down by $275 a year, and he was also going to bring down the cost of living. He was going to increase real wage. Albo says a lot of things that don't actually happen. Look, the reality is this is actually serious, and we know that at the height of Labor's failure with border security, thousands of people died, and we need to prevent that from happening again. We need to show a strong hand on this, and the reality is that there have been, whilst they talk about the budget being the same it is, we know that there has been cuts, and they need to properly fund this. The same could be said for our defence budget, where they talk a big game with $11 billion today, but ultimately that's all back-ended, and none of it's going to achieve anything until 2031 or 2033 or something like that. We need fair income leadership on this.
We do need fair income leadership. We haven't seen it for a long while. Here's a little bit of the current resident of the Lodge, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, on Channel 9 this morning.
We've had a lot of nonsense from Peter Dutton. He's spoken about alleged cuts when there's been a $470 million increase. They won't be allowed to settle in Australia. Our resolve is clear. The only person cheering on people smugglers has been Peter Dutton this week.
Yeah, now, Susie, I don't expect you to get into the job of bagging other media like I do, but the media and politics and politicians in this country keep seeing this issue through a political lens, It's about who's got the upper hand in the political debate over border security. That is meaningless to most Australians. What we want is secure borders. We see the same thing in the US, where it's all the political toing and froing between Republicans and Democrats over the border. No, the issue for Americans is secure the border. And we just need to know what's happening on our border because it's clearly failing at the moment.
I think people are less concerned about the big optics of the politics of this and more concerned about the people who are paying thousands of dollars to people smugglers to come back into this country once again. We know that there were two separate arrivals in the last few months alone, and as I said before, they don't even know how that latest group came here. They're saying, oh, what boat? Where's your boat? And they're like, oh, can't say anything. They still don't even know. And most people couldn't be, they're not concerned if it's Liberal or Labor or what Dutton says or what Albanese says. What they want to know is that people are not going to pay thousands of dollars to put their own lives at risk.